So the main method of reproduction among algae in the favorable condition is by vegetative reproduction. That means by fragmentation. It is very possible that the algae may divide into pieces, and each piece will give rise to a new algae. And then when it comes to the topic of asexual reproduction, they develop spores, and those spores can either be motile spores or non-motile spores. If they are motile, they are supposed to be swimming in water because algae are aquatic, so in that cases they carry flagella. Now, sexual reproduction, when we talk about their sex organs, do not carry a jacketed structure. That means that means the sex organs are naked. And in such sex organs, when gametes are formed, those gametes can be similar in sizes as well as in shape, and they are so similar that we cannot make out which one comes from the male body, which one comes from the female body, and such type of gametes are called as isogametes. So isogametes are similar in appearance. We cannot distinguish between male and female. Anisogametes are those gametes in which the sizes are only different, rest all features are same. So the larger one is the female gamete and smaller one is the male gamete. And in the same manner, third category possible is the oogamy. Now those gametes which are, one gamete will be huge in size and that will be stationary, does not move at all, and that is the female gamete, and a very small one and which is motile and quite a lot motile, that one is the male gamete. So such type of reproduction are possible. That means when fertilization takes place between gametes, the fertilization could be between the isogametes. Such type of fertilization is called as isogamy. If the gametes are anisogametes, then the fertilization is called as anisogamy. If the gametes are oogametes or heterogametes, one motile and a huge one, smaller one non-motile, huge one, and the very small one is very much motile, is called as the oogametes, and such a fertilization will be called as oogamy. So these are the three types of fertilization or sexual reproduction possible. Spermatization, which we have already covered in the fungus in the fungi also, that is also common among some of the algae. And remember, embryo stage is absent in them. So algae do not have the embryonic stage. That means they are aembryophyta. Aembryophyta means those plants in which we do not find the embryonic state. Now, there are various classes of the algae which as per NCERT there are three classes to study. First is green in color, second is brown in color, and third is the red in color. Now let's start with the first one. The chlorophyceae, chloro word stands for green color, phyceae stands for algae. So this group is supposed to carry 7,000 species. So there are 7,000 species of green algae. 90% of them are found in fresh water, and 9% of them are found in marine water, and just 1% of them are terrestrial, and they are epiphytic or endoparasite, otherwise epizoic, or they can be either endozoic or epizoic or parasitic form. Endozoic are those which live inside, epizoic are those which live on the surface of other animal. Like if you pay attention to the example of sloth. Sloth is the slowest mammal found in the tropical jungles of Amazon. So on the surface of the skin or the surface of the fur of the sloth bear, we will find green color algae growing. So this is an example of epizoic algae because it is living or growing on the animal's body. Some they are which grow inside the animal's body, and some becomes parasitic also. Yes, there are certain algae which are parasitic. So now the next point is zoochlorella. It is in association with the sponges, and then we have Ceracium which grow on the surface of crustaceans. Crustaceans examples are like, for example, we can say scorpio, crabs, lobsters. These are crustaceans. So these algae can easily be seen growing on their body. And then we have Cladophora which grows on the shell of the snails. So there are many snails, that mean mollusks, and on the shell of the mollusk we can see Cladophora growing. And in the same manner, the example which I gave you, sloth, on sloth's fur we can see Trichophilus growing there. So these are certain examples of the algae which grows on another animal. Now the next example is parasitic one. So there is an example called as Cephalurus. Cephalurus is a parasitic algae which grows on tea and coffee plants, and it causes a disease called as red rust. Because of this, the production of coffee, production of tea undergoes tremendous loss. Now, some microscopic unicellular, for example, Chlamydomonas, flagellated and non-flagellated, example, Chlorella, Ceracium. Acetabularium is the largest single-cell algae, which is umbrella-like, is a largest unicellular algae. Some are flagellated and colonial, for example, Volvox. So Volvox is also called as the rolling ball algae because it is a colonial form. And then we have non-flagellated colonial examples, Scandismus and then Hydrodiction. Some are unbranched, filamentous, example, Eulothrix and Spirogyra. Some are branched and filamentous, example, Cladophora. Some grow in the form of sheets, for example, Ulva, of 2 layers of cells. And then we have heterotrygous type, also example, Drapera naldia. So these are various types of algae, example I have given. Cell wall is of cellulose. So because they are plants, so obviously their cell wall should carry cellulose. And then starch is there as the reserve food material. And this is the reason why they are considered as the ancestors of the plants on land. Now, photosynthetic pigments found in the chlorophyce includes chlorophyll A as well as chlorophyll B, carotenoids and xanthophylls. Remember, these are accessory pigments. We have learned about them already in photosynthesis chapter. Chloroplasts generally contain pyrenoids. Pyrenoids are the structures which synthesize and store starch. And then we have flagellated forms which have stigma. Stigma is the eye spot with the help of which it is able to sense the presence of light. Then vegetative reproduction occurs by fragmentation. Asexual reproduction involves mitospores, meiospores, and commonly zoospores, aplanospores. Motile spores are called as zoospores. Non-motile spores are called as aplanospores. Then we have hypnospores, echinids, autospores. These are various types of asexual spores which are formed. And flagellated flagella can be apical, and isocont means similar in type. Sexual reproduction involves flagellated, non-flagellated gametes of isogamy and anisogamy with macrogamete and microgamete I have discussed. And then oogamy with the egg which is big and stationary, sperm which is small and motile. And then they are of various life cycle, haplontic life cycle, diplontic life cycle, diplohaplontic life cycle. And many of them are used as food, for example, chlorella, ulva, caulerpa. Some are used for sewage disposal, example, chlorella, chlamydomonas. And then we know the parasitic form, and antibiotics called as chlorelin is obtained from chlorella.